Hello, and welcome to Hitchcock Handyman. Today is kind of another rant that I have. What it is solar and wind energy. Whereas, yes, they are great things for, say, like an individual. They are not necessarily great things on the large scale. Now, before everyone gets out their axes and gets mad at me over all this green energy and all this great stuff that we're doing with it, let me explain. First of all, it's not that they don't provide power and that with enough of them together they provide a good source of power. Your main thing, or your main problem, is that they are intermittent. Basically, they provide power, only wind power, only if the wind is blowing, which I don't know anywhere where the wind blows 24/7. They also, sun power, only provides power when the sun is out. So both of these things don't provide power 100% of the time. So with our current build on the electrical system, the wires, the telephone poles, all these things, our current build has a use it now build on it. There is no storage or no way to store anything. So basically what happens with a windmill, we'll use them for example, and we're not going to get into cost of how expensive they are to actually build and maintain. We're just on use of power. So basically, windmills, while they're turning, they're producing enough power to send on to the grid. The next thing that happens is the wind dies down, they're not producing any power, or they're producing less power than they were previously. So they need something to supplement them. Now, if we're actually wanting to go green, as they say, or things like that, then what needs to happen is we need to build storage stations. Sorry about that. We need to build storage stations near all of these windmills, solar power, all these generators that they're building, these green generators. What we need to do is build storage centers large enough there to be able to hold them or be able to store enough power that when the wind dies down, they are producing the same amount of power as if the wind was still blowing at the same speed. Now, that in and of itself is even more expensive, because in order to set up a battery bank to put out that many watts with that many volts, we would have to have a huge storage center, and currently we don't build batteries that big or that with that much capacity and that deep of a cycle. Now, why I say deep cycle is because, again, when these wind turbines, these solar, whenever they're not in use, their drawing then would be on the battery. Now, in order for a battery to stay good for any given amount of time, it has to not, on average, go below 50 to 70%. You want to stay above that average. So, if you think about it this way, an average person uses kilowatts on their house per day, depending on how much they pull or how much they have going. So on a month, you'll look at your statement and it'll show you how many kilowatts have been used. So now you go out and you convert your kilowatt hours all the way down to amp hours, and you can do this on Google. You can look it up and figure it out. And what you'll figure out is your normal car battery, which sits about 400 to 500 cold cranking amps. You want to look at cranking amps, which is actually significantly less. For, like, say, for a 575 cold cranking amp battery, you're going to be looking at probably about 400 cranking amps. What that means is the battery can sustain 400 cranking amps for a given amount of time. With a cold cranking amp, it can do a big push, or it can do a big shove for a very limited amount of time. So now you go through, and in order to get a kilowatt hour out of battery of 500, we'll say a 500 amp battery, you're looking at 2 batteries gives you 1,000 amp. You're then looking at, like I said, I don't necessarily off the top of my head know the math formula, as you see, since I'm driving. But basically, you're needing about 10 to 20 large batteries per home that is being supplied with this solar power. Now, in order for this to work, you think about it. How much space does 10 to 20 batteries take? Now, on top of that, you look around and you say, how many batteries are out there that are needed for all this? Sorry about that delay or skip that's going to be in the middle there. But basically what I was talking about is that would be a lot of batteries that would be needed. So basically, if you think about 10 to 20 batteries, or the space of 10 to 20 car batteries per household, and that's of course not taking into account any of the businesses or any of the hospitals or anything that uses more power on average than a home. So we take and we look at the space now that we'll say in this town, I think there's only 100,000, I think is what it is. Anyway, it's not a very big town. But so you go 100,000 times 20, you have 2 million battery. That's the space you would name that 2 million car batteries could fit in. So, in order for that to be very practical, or that to be something that would do good and we wouldn't worry about the intermittency problem, we would have to build ourselves a battery that could handle that type of torture, or essentially give off that much power, not drain itself, and still be able to recharge back up. Now, in order for that to happen, we've got to work a lot on batteries. So, in order for us to become this green energy program, or this green energy driven country that a lot of people want us to go, yes, we have decent power from wind and from solar. We just don't have a problem with intermittency. Or I should say, we have the problem with intermittency, whereas we're not able to have 100% of the power 100% of the time. So in order for this to work, someone out there needs to come up with a battery that has this capacity. So you're looking at multiple different things here then that cause green energy not necessarily to be that reliable, that good, or that consistent. Now, most of you are going to go, well, wait a minute. What about Germany, or what about France? All these other countries that are using the windmills has green energy. Well, if you notice, when they put up windmills in Germany and France, they put up more power plants that went off other types of energy. Mainly because they were producing a third the amount of energy as they were previously. So, in reality, whereas it looks great to the world, hey, we're green, we're doing this great. No, we're not. We're actually just putting on a facade. So anyway, give me your comments, thoughts, questions down below. And thank you very much for watching my YouTube channel today. I'm going to get myself some dinner. You have a great day.